So, welcome to another edition of the Diversity Dialogue. With me, I have Michael Montoya, who is the CISO at Equinix. I first want to thank Diana Kelly, who made the intro to Michael. Thanks, Diana, and welcome to the show, Michael.
Oh, thank you. I'm excited to be here. And again, thank you, Diana. She's one of our rock stars in the industry. So if they ever give a Hall of Fame to cybersecurity people, she's going to be the first one to get it, no doubt.
I completely agree, and she's been on the show many, many times. So it's a good buddy. Yeah. So
I'm delighted to be here.
No, so it's interesting because one of the things that she is a huge promoter of is diversity, right? And I was caught by this particular post of somebody in your team, Justina Lappe, who talked about, and she says working alongside, and this was an opening in your team, and she says you'll be working alongside some of the most talented, fun, and kind InfoSec leaders. I have never heard that adjective being applied to InfoSec leaders, but it also talks about the culture of the company. So talk a little bit about how kindness plays an important role when we talk about cybersecurity. And again, this is diversity of thought for sure, right?
Yeah, no, listen, it's incredibly important. And Justina is an incredibly special leader amongst herself, right? She's just done phenomenal things for our program and for our team, and most importantly for our company. But it really starts at that level, right? If you look at our leadership, there's this term magic of Equinix, which is so interesting. And when I was getting recruited here, I also kind of honestly thought it was a bit of a marketing term. Just sounds good, but a little bit of cynical mind hits, right?
Yeah.
And when you join here, you realize there's a real magic here that starts from our leadership team. That's really part of the ethos of the company, which really is about kindness to a great degree, and respect, and really just valuing people, their opinions, their perspective, and then giving them a platform in which to really sort of bring that perspective to life, whether it be through products, anything to help the customer, however you feel like it's necessary. And that's important because in cybersecurity, I mean, kindness, I think we both could agree, it's not a lost art, right? I mean, this is just a very basic thing of human nature. And it's so important in cybersecurity because we have to have really hard conversations at times. And we have to deliver really hard messages at times. And if you don't set the tone right, and you don't have that relationship that you need, and you don't have that trust between different organizations, different people, different executives, however, whatever sort of message you have to deliver, whether good or bad, when people understand, if you're operating from a place of kindness and you really set that tone, it really just gives you incredible currency to really get things done at a faster pace, maybe help drive people to decisions that maybe they wouldn't have done otherwise. But I think it's just a really important thing, not just for cyber everywhere, but specifically in cybersecurity. That kindness is really important for us to set the tone. So it's something that we look for amongst all of our organization, and it's really, to me, very important because that tone gives people the permission to really sort of feel like they can have their voice heard, and more importantly, actioned as well.
And that's so important, right? Because sometimes you kind of that permission is something that you don't know, and you can't go and ask, right? Is it okay to lend a helping hand to somebody X over here? But once you set the tone, then people just go out of their way to do what the right thing is, right?
Yeah, they do, and that kindness is just, it's so sincere. It makes you approachable. It just makes it comfortable, and you can still have hard discussions, and that's the beauty of it, right? Because when you set that right tone, then you can have some of the more difficult discussions. And as you know better than most of us, cybersecurity, sometimes we have to have some really hard discussions as it relates to different things we have to do to keep our company safe.
Yeah, so extending upon that, and this is again somebody that you're pretty close to. I know you're on the board of F5, and this is Francois, and he had posted this on LinkedIn, and he was really talking about one of the steps that an individual can take, and I'm reading off this, right, which is really the ability to mentor someone who looks different than you. And this show is all about giving people actionable advice of how they can go about doing it. So talk a little bit about the recruitment process. I'm guilty of this, right? When I was on the vendor side of the house, look through my connections, look through people I know, and then go and, I mean, even if it was not conscious, it was ending up in a situation where I was going and looking for people that I knew or somebody that I trusted. So it ended up, so versus going to community college or going to a place that we never recruited from and saying, hey, we need the diversity of thought, right? So it's never taught in HR and we kind of go down the path that we're familiar with. How have you seen the transformation happen where you kind of push boundaries and say, okay, it's high time we start doing things differently. So we need to see more diverse thoughts and diverse opinions, and therefore we need to go to different places.
Yeah, no, I think, first of all, Francois is, I think, not only an incredible leader, but I think he is setting a whole new benchmark of what it means to really focus on diversity and inclusion. And if you kind of take a step back for a moment and realize how important this is, not just to InfoSec or security, but to companies overall, especially multinationals. And I would even go well beyond multinationals, but we'll focus on that since that's that's kind of company I belong to. But the concept of diversity and inclusion really has become about resiliency, which is why it's part of every ESG plan now. And these are a board-driven discussion, a board of director-driven discussion, because it's not just about making sure, hey, we've got people from different kind of backgrounds, et cetera. That's very important stuff. But what you really want are those perspectives. And those different perspectives are what give you and are the fuel, in my opinion. That's really the gasoline or the petrol for innovation. And that's that's what creates the resilience in the organization. So having diversity and inclusion is absolutely just imperative to every organization out there, which is why it's a board level topic now as part of ESG plans. And I think Francois is an absolute leader there. And I think he himself is a product of a lot of great mentorship, as well as a lot of diversity and inclusion. And I myself am as well. And different areas I look at, there's a gentleman, Mark Egan, who spearheaded a program going very focused on community colleges. In this case, it's Merritt College over in the Bay Area, and focused on people who wouldn't maybe otherwise get into cybersecurity, and reaching out to them, recognizing they have a very diverse mindset, they have a very diverse perspective, and we could really use this talent in a space, where we have negative unemployment, so we have a huge talent challenge, but more importantly, the type of talent we want are much more diverse talent. So he's created a program with Merritt College that I think has been phenomenal. I've actually been part of helping sort of recruit folks from that organization, mentor some of the folks from that organization, and very much with that same concept in mind. Right? Let's not go after the exact same pattern of folks that we go after and look at, but let's broaden our own perspective in this case. And there's just a tremendous amount of different areas you can go to. I mean, I'll tell you, I go into a bank and I'll talk to somebody and I'm trying to recruit the teller by the end of the conversation sometimes, like, why aren't you thinking about cybersecurity, right? And it's just, I just don't think you can stop wherever you go. I mean, there's, everyone thinks about security at the end of the day, whether it be they're trying to secure their house, their home, their place of living, their credit cards, whatever. Everyone at their core value, and if you think about kind of Maslow's hierarchy for a moment, it's something that we all have that's very intrinsic in all of us. And I think this is a great field where people from different parts of the world can just come and actually really offer a different perspective and really give us giving us different ideas on how to solve really complex problems. And our adversaries, those threat actors out there, are incredibly diverse. They come from all walks of life. They come from all parts of the globe. And we are not going to be able to compete with these folks and inevitably do our jobs if we just take one perspective on how to deal with them. So diversity is absolutely, it's literally a lifeline for us here. And I think every CISO out there, every security professional out there should be looking at very non-traditional ways of recruiting folks, whether it's, I've been involved in programs where people have been out of the workforce for many years, specifically a lot of single parents or just, parents who are dedicated to parenting for several years and have been out of the workforce. We have focused on those folks. Lots of focus on community colleges where there's really great incubation of talent from people who may have not had an opportunity to get into STEM or even cybersecurity from that perspective. But I think every security organization should be expanding their recruitment program just from the traditional systems and go and look at some of these non-traditional ways of recruiting folks. And most of my peers in the industry are doing exactly that.